for today is Mr. Pratik Sinha, who runs the Altnews website. So, thanks for showing up in good numbers for what promises to be an interactive session. Some of you may have seen him appear on television shows talking about the kind of work he does. So he was coming to Hyderabad in any case to give a talk at a forum called Manthan, which some of you may be aware of. Is a citizens forum that usually invites personalities from different backgrounds to talk about current affairs and their own respective fields of expertise. So he's anyway speaking in the city in the evening, so we thought we will use this opportunity to get him over to Nalsar as well. So he's a software engineer by training, but in the recent past, people have been describing him as an anti-Modi blogger, amongst other things. So clearly, being an academic institution, we should be prepared to ask questions and even engage with people who may or may not be on the right side of the current government. So I hope many of you have questions about this. So this will be more in the nature of an interactive session than a lecture. So yesterday, especially for the year 1 students, we had more of a conventional lecture by Professor Rajiv Gowda. But today it will be more of an interactive session where I think your questions will probably add more value to the conversation that we need to have, right?
Thank you so much for having me here. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, so how many of you recognize this picture, the present picture on the screen? What is this picture? Can any of you tell me? Yeah, please. This is not Assam. This is not Dhule. Yeah, this is Jharkhand. This happened last year in in May 2017. About 7 people were lynched in Jharkhand because of child kidnapping rumors. It was claimed that there are these child kidnappers on prowl in your area, in a certain rural area of Jharkhand, and 7 people who fit a certain description. There was a elaborate message that was circulated on WhatsApp, and which said that people from outside are coming and they're going to kidnap your children, they're going to traffic their organs, and so on and so forth. And 7 people who the locals thought fit that description, they were caught, they were killed. This person is, a photographer picked this picture. This person is not alive anymore. Now, the people, neither was this person a criminal, nor the people around him are criminals, nor was this an organized crime. This was a crime which was committed out of a position of fear, where WhatsApp rumors over a long period of time caused people to get into a situation of fear psychosis, and then a spark, some sort of a spark in that area, somebody provocated a group of people and things like that, and that is what led to such widespread lynching. Now, as we stand today, in the past few weeks, about 27 people have been killed across multiple states, 5 in Dhule, 2 in Assam, and the presentation I have actually hasn't kept up with the what is happening currently, but I'll go through I'll show you some examples from the website, and we have debunked some of these rumors. So the essential rumor here, and which is circulated in multiple languages, is the same as one that was circulated in Jharkhand, that log bahar se aa rahe hai, people are coming from outside, and they are going to kidnap your children, they are going to traffic their organs. Now, along with this, multiple images and one specific video is circulated. This video was actually shot in Karachi. It was shot by an NGO in Karachi called Roshni, and it was supposed to be an educational video which showed how easy it is to kidnap children. So, 2 bike-borne readers, they come, they pick up a couple of children, they go away, and then they come back and show a placard that, look, this is how easy it is to kidnap children, be careful. Now, what somebody has done is cut a section of that video, truncated that video, and the part which shows these bike-borne readers coming, picking up the children and going away, only that portion is being circulated on the internet, and it is claimed that these are the people who are kidnapping children in your area. Now, along with that, there are multiple images circulated, mainly people murdered, bloody all over and things like that. And this has been going on for multiple days, to the point that people in rural areas are really fearful. I know there's an IPS officer here. I don't know how many of you have heard of her, Reema Rajeshwari. She's based in Telangana. And I was watching an interview of hers where she was saying that, in rural Telangana, when temperatures were really high and, typically people come out and sleep outdoors to escape the heat, this year people were sleeping indoors, and they were creating patrol teams amongst themselves to look out for child kidnappers which do not exist. So that is the amount of fear mongering that has gone on vis-a-vis these WhatsApp rumors. So now, why is that, why is this happening in India, and why is this not happening in other parts of the world? I mean, internet access, people have much more internet access in many parts of the world. Why is that we suddenly, as a country, we suddenly face this crisis that people are coming out on the roads, and this, it is not limited to this. In November 2016, there was a rumor that, salt is going to run out in the country, and people came out and started ransacking shops. So these kind of rumors which have an element of personal loss, like bachcha chala jayega, salt khatam ho jayega, and that kind of personal loss, these are circulated again and again, and people are acting on it. So one of the primary reasons why we are in this situation is a case of digital illiteracy. Large sections of our population, there's been a telecom revolution of sorts in the past 2-3 years, with the arrival of Jio, and with different telecom companies dropping their rates. Now there's been an explosion of internet usage in India. These are slightly old statistics. So in the month of June 2016, as a country, we were using 200 million Gbps of data per month. In March 2017, that jumped to about 1,300 million. So that was like a 6.5 times of increase in just a span of about 9 months. And that is pretty unprecedented, even in a global scenario. I think this number at this point in time stands somewhere around 2 billion Gbps. So in the span of about 2 years, the internet usage in India has grown about 10-folds. And what has happened is now, the remotest villages in India now have internet connection. If you look at the rise in rural internet usage in rural India, it is 22%, and that is a very, very significant figure, because except for a few cases, most of the lynchings that have presently happened have happened in rural cases. There have been, for example, in Ahmedabad, where I belong from, there was a lynching, and I think there was one in Hyderabad also, I think. But most of the cases where lynchings have happened in rural areas. And the reason is that in rural India, first of all, because of lack of education, lack of finances, so there's a general lack of education, but more specifically, there's lack of digital literacy. So a lot of people in rural area, they'll use a phone which is like 3,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, which has WhatsApp pre-installed. And that is their window to the world of internet. I mean, all of you here, I'm sure you use internet for a variety of purposes. For research, whether you go to YouTube, whether you go to news websites, for a variety of purposes. So you have sort of this holistic view of the world of internet. You know that it's a technology which is at least 3 decades old. You know that it is not uncommon for rumors to float on internet and things like that. That general introduction is there, even though you may not have it in your curriculum. Many countries now have a digital literacy program in their curriculum, but even though we may not have it in our school curriculums or college curriculums, we have that kind of information. Unfortunately, a lot of people who are from the lower economic strata of the population, their window to the world of internet has become this WhatsApp inbox. They don't have this holistic view of the internet. And what they get on these WhatsApp inboxes, they consider, they take it as face value. And a large part of this population considers what comes on the newspaper, the written word on the newspaper, as gospel truth. And this is the same population which is now using WhatsApp. These are all first-time internet users who are now using WhatsApp, and they think what comes on WhatsApp, is truth. And this is aided by certain further elements. For example, let's say your people who have come to trust in your life, if they start forwarding things to you, your uncles, your aunts, etc., when they start forwarding things to you, what happens is that you think that it's coming from somebody who you have come to trust in life, so you believe in it. So that also adds a lot into the fear psychosis, especially when it comes to such dangerous rumors. Now, because of these rumors, what has happened is that there have been lynchings across the country recently, and in the past we have also seen rumors, riots where misinformation has been used to incite riots. So, for example, in Boshirhat, and we'll look at the images that were circulated in these cases. Image from a Bhojpuri movie was circulated where, and it was claimed that a Hindu woman is being molested. In Boshirhat, the aggressors were people from the minority community. And it was claimed that a Hindu woman is being molested, while it was actually a clipping from a Bhojpuri movie. So these are the kinds of way misinformation is being used to incite people who, who may not have either the capability or the time to go and figure out, what is true and what is not. And while in case of the child kidnapping rumors, it is true that, mostly the aggressors are from the lower economic strata of the society. They are the ones who are acting on it, but it is not that the urban crowd doesn't fall for rumors. And we see, rumors in our family WhatsApp groups every single day. So it is not a class issue. It is just that, it is easy to put fear in people who may not have the education to deal with information, the explosion of information. So it's easy to make them fearful. And it's not just about these child kidnapping rumors, diseases, etc. There are so many rumors that float around about various health issues, and people take it on face value because, there's an inherent fear associated with it. If I take this, more recently, for example, when the Nipah virus thing happened, there was a rumor which was circulated claiming that a homeopathy medicine called Gelsemium 200 will protect you. And there was a huge rush to pharmacies to buy this medicine. Somebody, I think somebody from Pune, as far as I know, originated that rumor. And I don't know whether this was to drive or what it was, but somebody originated that rumor, and then it was all over social media. And just the fact that Nipah virus had a fatality rate of over 85% meant that everybody wanted to go and, sort of protect themselves, while there's no way this, and we did a detailed article on this issue that, this is not going to protect you. So that is that is one of the thing, it is your emotions that this misinformation industry wants to abuse. It can be two kinds. One is fear, which is in the case of when an epidemic breaks out or when there is a natural calamity or these child kidnapping rumors. And second is emotion of anger, hatred, and disgust. And those come to play when you're playing one community against others. Hindu ne Muslim ko mara, Muslim ne Hindu ko mara. So these are the kind of emotions that usually this misinformation industry plays on. And if you look at the messages, etc., they are constructed in a way to play on your emotions. And they know that if they can strike the right chord, they can get a message viral. They can, for example, the India-Pakistan match, Champions Trophy that happened in 2017 or something, the final where India lost, and multiple videos were circulated claiming that Indian Muslims are celebrating Pakistan's win. So we looked at each one of those videos, except for one video, which was from Kashmir, and Kashmir has a slightly different situation. Each one of those videos was a fake video in the sense that it had a false narrative. One of the videos was from Pakistan, from a Pakistani mosque, where people were celebrating Pakistan's win. One of the videos was from Baroda, from December 2016, from one of the Muslim festivals, where two bike-borne young boys were out on the road, they were using the Islamic flag. This Islamic flag is often confused with the Pakistani flag. Many news websites also do that. They confuse the Islamic flag with the Pakistani flag. So they had the Islamic flag in their hand, and that video was crazily viral, probably viewed millions and millions of times to show that Indian Muslims are celebrating Pakistan's win. And we know that emotion. We know, the India-Pakistan equation, and how by stating that Indian Muslims are actually on the side of Pakistan, what that entails, and the kind of otherness that creates, the kind of divide that creates in the society. So why do people fall for it? As I briefly said, it's mostly a play on emotions, but your biases also come into picture. Let's say if you're a BJP supporter, then any joke on Rahul Gandhi would, anything, for example, all of you must have heard of that Alu thing, right? But it's a fake video, in the sense that it is a truncated video. Similarly, a lot of you might have seen a video where Mr. Modi claims that he has studied only till 10th standard. Again, that's a truncated video which is circulated from the other side. So both sides are doing it. There might be a quantitative difference as to which side is doing how much, but both sides are doing it. So if you're a Congress supporter, you would probably, immediately fall for that video which says that, Mr. Modi claiming that I have studied only till 10th standard, but it is, if you go further in that video, this is a truncated video which is circulated. If you go further in that video, he says that, I've gotten further degrees through distance learning, etc., etc. We don't know about the actual degree certificate, but at least he says that. So biases play a lot, and so this is a typical example of, if you have a certain bias, and if you just put together a motley of pictures, how, without saying anything, but people perceive based on their bias. So this was an image which was circulated just before Gujarat elections. How many of you recognize any of the images here? So you've seen this collage being circulated on internet? Yeah, so this was circulated by the BJP National IT Cell in charge, Amit Malviya, and he said that, Nehru has a DNA similar to Hardik Patel. Hardik Patel is a youth leader in Gujarat, and at that point of time, he was sort of, certain videos of him had come out from a hotel and things like that, and that is, in that context, the statement was made. But Altnews debunked this image. The top left image is Gandhi with his sister. The top right image is again Gandhi with his sister. The middle image is, not Gandhi, sorry, Nehru. Nehru with his sister, and the middle image is Nehru with Mrinalini Sarabhai. The bottom right image is Nehru with his niece, Nayantara Sehgal. So I mean, a combination of images, and in a couple of images he's smoking, and apparently that is wrong. So, I mean, it is wrong for other reasons, but so, you can put together any set of images, and if you have a bias, then that bias will come into play, and you would make certain judgments about certain people. Another way, image manipulation is used. This was an image circulated by Lalu Prasad Yadav, and this was, I think, in 2017, where he claimed that, this is the sort of reception they got for a certain meeting of theirs. Now, when you zoom into the image, when you zoom into various parts of the image, you'll see that just the way you do hair transplanting, they have done crowd transplanting. They have taken crowd from different places, and they have put in, and the original, this is the Gandhi Maidan ground, and somewhere in the middle, there are a bunch of trees, and if you look at the original Gandhi Maidan, and those trees have vanished, and there are people there. This is another one which is often circulated, and we know which one is true, which one is false. But these are harmless. Most of these, this kind of photoshopping, yes, they are not going to get people to, they're not going to lead to lynching or anything like that. So this is from the other side, where this video of Narendra Modi with Hafiz Saeed, not video, this image became very popular. Now, again, as I keep, I want to sort of stress more on on a political bias that people have. So, especially if you're belonging to a party. Now, if Narendra Modi was to ever to be with Hafiz Saeed in the same frame, it would be all over the news, international news. But still, people end up believing something like this, something which is, maybe people here may not, but there is a section of the population which will end up believing this and, circulating this. Similarly, that is an image which apparently shows that, there's a policeman sitting at Rajnath Singh's feet. These are the original images. Narendra Modi with Nawaz Sharif, and that's a clipping from a movie where the actor was replaced by Rajnath Singh. So, yeah, but the examples that we saw till now are not very dangerous. Now, coming to the way it is used in a very, very dangerous way. So, we know about the recent gang, the rape in Mandsaur of a young girl, and after that there was a lot of outrage, and people from both the communities, the majority community and minority communities, they came out on the road, and they protested the incident, and they all asked for quick justice and things like that. So I logged this. I think we did this story just about 4 or 5 days ago. We logged onto the internet and we see this website called indiaflare.com. This website was registered on June 22nd, so just a few days ago. And we see that they are claiming that Muslim समुदाय के लोग accused के पक्ष में बाहर आए और उन्होंने rally की. That was the claim that was being made, and this was the image. There's a larger image. I have sort of cropped it so that it's easy to see. But if you look at the placards, one says Irfan ko riha karo, and then the placard behind that also says riha karo. We looked up this image. So we use a variety of techniques to look up images, but the most common one is called Google reverse image search. I'll try and show an example of how we do that. Essentially go to images.google.com and then use certain filters to find out where an image really originated from or where a video really originated from. If we have enough time, I'll try to show that. So we looked it up, and the image was actually the one on the left, which says nahi sahenge beti pe waar, band karo ye atyachar. That was the actual image, and that was photoshopped to say Irfan ko riha karo. And this particular and from an unknown website registered on June 22nd, that is just about 2-3 weeks ago, that article I think at this point in time has been shared more than 25,000 times. And when an article is shared 25,000 times, what that means is that people have also taken out bits of text from that and images from that, created memes out of it. So an article sharing 25,000 times doesn't mean that only so many people have seen it, because various adaptations of any time anything gets popular on social media, we have seen that results in memes and this and that. So various adaptations from this article were taken and circulated all over social media, claiming that the Muslim community in Mandsaur is actually supporting the rape accused. So this is how misinformation is weaponized, and we have done multiple articles about how there's a concerted effort to attack the minority community in this country and show that how they're completely morally bankrupt. So just yesterday we did an article where again there's a video from UP where a young girl is possibly being sexually molested. And this video was viral on social media, and suddenly we saw a claim. We keep track of all these things on social media by a variety of tools that we have. We have a tool called CrowdTangle from Facebook, where we can track Facebook pages and things like that. We use TweetDeck, which is a tool by Twitter to track various things, and we have people contacting us on WhatsApp asking us, is this true? People tagging us on Twitter, is this true? So, and we also have a contact email address, contact@altnews.in. So we do both active monitoring and passive monitoring of such things. And yeah, so somebody asked, we saw that this video is circulating on social media, and suddenly somebody said the accused's name is Sajid, and something to the effect that the M factor is always there in all these cases. So then we tracked down that video. We saw the video frame by frame, and we saw that there's a bike passing by. Usually in these videos, it's very difficult to find out. It's just shot using your phone, and there's no reference to either the location or time or anything. So we saw a bike passing by, and that bike had a license number UP19, so which is Shamli district in UP. And then we contacted the Shamli police. They redirected us to a local Kotwali, a local police station. They finally told us that the name of the accused is not Sajid, and it's not from the Muslim community. And in the past 6 months, we have done multiple articles, starting from when there was an attack on a bus which had all school children, and 5 random Muslim names were circulated. People have been arrested for the attack on bus, which was not the case. And we have seen multiple instances of such misinformation where the minority community has been targeted. Now, this was the image which was circulated during Boshirhat riots. Images circulating during riots to fuel riots can lead to any sort of consequences, including further death. Now, whether it was directly related or not, I don't know, but after this image was circulated, next day, there was a death in Boshirat, but you can't say that it was directly related to this. But the fact is that, it helps in keeping the tensions up. So here in Bengal, it is being claimed that this woman is being sexually molested in Boshirat, and Boshirat being a Muslim majority place, the obvious intention was to say that the Muslims are molesting Hindu women. This is actually a scene from a Bhojpuri movie called Aurat Khilona Nahi, and it has been cut out and that was circulated. So misinformation is not limited to just social media. Social media is the most, social media plus WhatsApp is the most weaponized medium at this point in time, and the sort of rumors that are circulating is actually leading to people dying. But unfortunately, it is not limited to social media. It also, mainstream media also falls for it. Instead of being part of the solution, they have become part of the problem. And one of the main reasons why that is so is because there's an enormous competition, especially with everybody going digital. There's an enormous competition about putting out the news. Who's the first to put out the news, because that is directly linked to your business. That is directly linked to how much money you're going to get, how many clicks you're going to get on your advertisements, and so on and so forth. So again, some examples. So for example, when Mr. Kovind became the president, multiple media organizations, and these are prominent media organizations, they put out these claims, claiming that Mr. Kovind got 3.27 million followers in day 1. Another Z News claimed in a few minutes, and Republic claimed in 1 hour. The fact of the matter was that the outgoing president already had so many followers. They were just being transferred to the new president. Now these are mainstream media organizations. I mean, this is the most rudimentary fact check that you can do. That is, you go look at the president's present following, and you know that it has just been, it's a Twitter policy. Let's say when Trump became the president, the POTUS account, the president of the United States, those followers were transferred to the new president or whatever. So that is a standard policy that all social media platforms adopt. Unfortunately, and these were not the only 3, there were about 12 of them, all of mainstream media, who gave different twists. Somebody said 1 hour, somebody said few minutes, somebody said 3 hours, somebody said 1 day. They gave different twists to the story and they put it out. This is not something that is going to kill people, definitely. It's a harmless mistake, but it shows the kind of attention, because there's so much pressure to put out a story. I have heard from various journalists that, if they get a regular story, they are supposed to, they get like 15 minutes to half an hour to push it out. So there's no scope of fact checking. I mean, even we know that, for example, that Shamli story that we were tracking, when we had to call multiple police stations, it took us 1.5 days to get information. It is not easy to get information about various issues. There are people who are very, people don't want to talk, especially in the government, they want to give quotes. Another rumor that was circulated just about 3-4 days back is that 95% of rapes that have happened in India since 2016 are because of people from the Muslim community. So then to to put a story, we had to contact NCRB because they were quoting NCRB data. Now we know that NCRB does not have classification according to religion, but we needed somebody from NCRB to tell us that, because you need a quote from an authoritative source, and this person just won't give us the quote. And then finally, after 3 days, we got the quote, and by the time it was all over the internet. So we know that it is very difficult to, find information that is needed for journalistic purpose, and there's so much pressure to put out information that they end up making mistakes like this. Unfortunately, again, it is not limited to just these kind of mistakes which are not harmful. Now, this is India today, which claimed that this particular boy, his body was fished out of a lake in Dakshin Kannada. There were riots happening, and this person died. It was claimed that boiling oil was poured on his face, he was castrated, head cut open, flung into a lake, etc., etc. When the post-mortem report came out, each one of those claims were false. Each one of those claims. And this was a news broadcast when riots were going on in that area. And look at the number of retweets, over 3,000 retweets. Again, what that entails is that there were screenshots of this taken, put across every social media page, and when something comes from India Today, which is, it carries certain amount of authority, it becomes truth. So this was, this was one of the TV cutouts where it is being claimed that murdered with boiling oil, will killers be nabbed? Again, a false claim on live TV. So unfortunately, as I said, mainstream media, instead of being part of the solution, has become part of the problem. How does one fight fake news? So a lot of things have happened in the past 2 years. I think at least 3 of us have broken out on the screen in terms of fact-checking websites. There is Altnews, there's another website called Boom Live, and there's a third website called SM Hoaxlayer. So we have been in, Altnews started in February 2017, Boom Live and SM Hoaxlayer started a little before we did. And so we have been churning out more and more stories every single day. I think currently we put out about 2-3 stories a day. So that is obviously one way of doing things, that is fact-checking. But mainstream media organizations are not into it. ABP has a program called Viral Search, where they do some amount of fact-checking. But generally, mainstream media has not warmed up to the issue of fact-checking. I've gone to several of these conferences. For example, I was recently in an Indian Express conference where I said, you can put out stories about what Saif Ali Khan's son is doing, whether he's shitting, whatever he's doing. There's a story every single day about Taimur. Why can't you put out these stories which could possibly kill people, and information like this which could possibly save lives? And I did not get an answer. They just kept saying that we do good journalism, we do good journalism. I don't know what that means. So we use a variety of techniques as far as debunking fake news concerns. So one thing that we have found is that the police departments across the country, though sometimes reluctant, but they have been pretty helpful in helping us, help with information, because people just claim a variety of things that is happening across the country. It is very difficult, we are a big country, it's very difficult to track what happened in one small village in UP and, fact check that information. So, for example, Bhadoi UP. Now, I hadn't heard of Bhadoi UP till we did the story, but there was a Swami Vivekananda statue which was beheaded, and it was claimed that Muslims had done that. We contacted the police station there. They said that no, this was somebody who was mentally disturbed, and that is, that person had done it. And things like that. Muslim feds bombed a cow, blah blah blah. So yeah, so police sources, the police is also pretty active on social media. So if you ever want to find, as individuals, if you ever want to find out whether a certain video is true or not, it is a good idea to tag them. Whether they respond or not, at least they are bound to respond. So it's good to go and tag them and ask them, is something true or not? Especially when it's violent videos or videos which have an element of sexual exploitation, etc., etc. We do also a lot of data checking. That is, a variety of people make certain claims. For example, Rahul Gandhi just recently made a claim that the person who started Coke, or Coke, right? No, McDonald's or something, was a shikanji seller, he sold lemon juice. That is what the claim he made, and we fact-checked that, and we found that to be true. So politicians say a variety of things, and we do a lot of fact-checking, and there's a lot of data involved. So for example, in one of the things, Mr. Modi claimed that it was NDA government which started direct benefit transfer. A simple way to look at it is use certain Google filters. Now there's this filter in Google called site colon. So if you want to search within a website, you can use this. So for example, if you want to search within your, what is the website of the university? Yeah, so if you do site colon that, you want to search information within a website, this is the filter to be used. So if you do site colon PIB is where all the official releases come. So it is as simple as checking site colon pib.nic.in and you look for direct benefit transfer. Then Google has a search time filter. So on the right you see settings. If you click on that, you can set a time filter, and you set a time filter and you see that direct benefit transfer has been there since 2013. So obviously the claim is wrong. So we use a variety of these methods. We get data and we find whether certain politicians are misleading people or not. Reverse image search, I'll try and show you an example, is a common way to find whether images are real or not, whether videos are real or not. This is how you do reverse image search. Essentially, you go to images.google.com and then there's a camera icon on the right. You click on that, you upload an image. If it's a video, you try and take a screenshot of the initial frame or certain interleaving frames, and you upload that and see whether you can find origins of that image on internet. Typically what happens is that all the video hosting sites, they put out a variety of thumbnails. So what you're trying to do is try to hit one of those thumbnails to find whether this image, this video was originally there on internet, and at what point was it uploaded on internet. Is it representative of a current event or not? We also talked to multiple subject matter experts. For example, what Times Now did once was, it showed a video of a cattle rolling on a plank and claimed that this is atrocity during child slaughter, cow slaughter, sorry, atrocity during cattle slaughter. And we contacted a veterinary expert, and what that person told us is that it is a regular procedure called uterus torsion, where if during pregnancy, during the later parts of pregnancy of a cattle, if the uterus gets displaced, then you put the cattle on a plank and you roll it to set it right. And that video was passed off on Times Now, claiming to be torture during cattle slaughter. So yeah, so we talked to a variety of subject matter experts, and then the most common thing these days is quotes. You put a picture and you put some text and circulate it on social media saying that Akshay Kumar ne ye bola, Swara Bhaskar ne ye bola, isne ye bola, isne wo bola. A lot of these are fake. So the way we do is we contact these people and figure out whether they have said it or not and things like that. What are the challenges? The challenges at this point in time, they are multifold. One, the fact that these child kidnapping rumors, they started from May last year, and now they have killed 27 people in a few weeks. Just day before yesterday, after so many killings, did Ravi Shankar Prasad came out and made a public statement that we need to look at WhatsApp, and then suddenly they put all the blame on WhatsApp. Now WhatsApp is a technology platform, it is a medium. WhatsApp is not generating your content, somebody else is generating your content, somebody else is consuming your content. But they came out and put all the blame on WhatsApp and shirking all the responsibility. Whereas the fact is that it was known that these rumors were circulated as far as back in May 2017, and a government is not just supposed to act in a reactive mode, they are supposed to anticipate issues, and they've completely failed in anticipating. Even though a lot of us have been saying that this is going to repeat, they completely failed in anticipating this, and nothing has been done. There are a lot of things that could have been done, from awareness programs, etc., short-term, long-term awareness programs. None of that was done, and which is why we're in a situation that we are today. But beyond that, beyond just this child kidnapping rumors, what we have seen is that ministers tweeting out of fake news websites. For example, how many of you have heard of Postcard News? So it is a known fake news website, and I don't know where did the clip. Yeah. It's a known fake news website, and there are multiple ministers who tweet out of it, essentially endorsing it and promoting the founder of this fake news website also went to jail, where ministers came out in support of this. So essentially there is a direct support for this industry because it is politically beneficial. Yeah, that's about it. So I guess you could ask me questions. I'm better at answering questions.
Hello, sir. Thank you for the speech. It was really informative. I'm Shriram from second year. So my question is, when we for a lot of people, and I've experienced this, as I said, through the family groups, the two main sources of information are WhatsApp and news. And when people come day in, day out and scream at them in the news, and there's only fake news on WhatsApp, so is an effective way to combat it through like reverse propaganda? Like, do we spread positive news through WhatsApp so that they trust WhatsApp as a reliable source? So how effective will that be?
No, the thing about fake news, I mean, for example, something as simple as, I was talking about the Nipah epidemic virus, where it was said that have Gelsemium 200, it's going to protect you from Nipah. Now, if you say that it is not going to protect you from Nipah, and if you say this is going to protect you, you are touching two different emotional chords. So one is, you're playing on somebody's fear that, okay, Nipah ho jayega, there's a 86% fatality rate, I'm going to die, let me go and take Gelsemium, okay? The opposite of that does not touch that emotional chord, so it doesn't go as viral as the false information does. So that is one of the biggest challenges, and there have been multiple studies that have been done about it. I think Guardian had published Science Mag, this was done under Science Mag, where they found that, fact check stories versus false news, and which goes more viral, and the false news was, I think, 100 times more viral or something to that effect. So we have to figure out, there have to be studies which need to be done, and in fact, the Altnews science editor, her name is Dr. Sumaya Sheikh. She's a neuroscientist based in Sweden, and we are working on trying to do some behavioral analysis. So the advantage that we have as Altnews is that we have a captive audience, in the sense that, whenever there's something which is viral on social media, there's some claim, a lot of people end up on our website, who are people who are affected by this claim. And we keep our focus only on fact checking. We don't do general news reporting. So we are planning to do some behavioral analysis, put out surveys to them, when they come to the website through Google search, and find out, what is the most effective way of doing fact checking stories, of convincing people. Just yesterday, I was on a call with WhatsApp. So they are reaching out to different fact checkers. So the lead of WhatsApp, we had a call with them, and they also have an in-house psychologist, and they were also talking about the same thing as to, how it is so difficult to reach out to people and tell them this is the truth, because it is a false information which gains more virality. And they're also doing certain things on the background. Unfortunately, while we blame the government for what is happening, the blame also lies, there's also a certain blame that these technology platforms need to take, because they have not introduced means and ways to ease up things. For example, something as simple as this reverse search, finding out what is the original context of a video. Now, YouTube has a technology called Content ID. So essentially, if you put out something which has a copyright violation, and Facebook also has a similar technology, they'll recognize that there's a violation and they'll remove it. How do they do it? They compare videos. You can fingerprint, I'm going to go into a little technical thing, but essentially what you can do is, you can break videos into individual images, and every individual image can be fingerprinted. This will be an alphanumeric value, essentially, which will uniquely identify an image. And then you store it in a database and you compare it against that. That is how generally image comparison is done. So, that technology is already out there. All these people with billions and billions of dollars of budget, they have not been able to come up with one app. There's not a single app on Apple App Store or Play Store where you can upload an image and upload a video and ask the question, what is the original context of this image or video. So these are the things that should have been done Now they have taken some steps, but just like the government is late in the game, the technology platforms are late in the game, and for the same reason, mainstream media falls for fake news, because anything that goes viral on social media, that is a source for business. They want that virality, you know, it is designed for virality, you know, hashtag trends, this and that, everything is designed for virality. So anything that stops things from going viral, it is a problem for their business. So, you know, it is a contradiction in itself.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Arun from second year. I had two questions. First one was, how is alt news serving that section of population who are illiterate and mostly prone to falling for that fake news? Because internet is a wide resource, and like you said, that there is a section of population who does not understand or is not able to factually review these kind of information. So how is alt news, other than the website, trying to serve that population?
So, short answer is we are not. We are not serving that section of the population. The longer answer is that what we were, so it is, first of all, let's just look at this child kidnapping rumors. What happened was that every rumor is translated into a local language. So in Maharashtra, it was in Marathi, and not just that, it was localized to the extent of the name of the places. So somebody's doing it as an organized fashion. I mean, who wants to do, you know, say that इस जगह पे ये child kidnappers आ रहे in their specific language, whether it is Ahomia, in Gujarat it was in Gujarati. So somebody is doing it in an organized fashion. Now we write in English and then we have a Hindi website, but we have only so much reach. So there's no way we are going to reach that section of the population. So when we first started, what we did was that we put our content in Creative Commons with attribution, which means that the content is free. You don't have to pay us anything. Just give us attribution that this story was originally taken from Alt News, and you translate it in your own languages and put it out. So some people have done that. There are Malayalam channels who have done that. There's a Kannada newspaper which has done that. So multiple people have done that, but unfortunately it's just not enough. The lynching that happened in Ahmedabad, we debunked that, we alerted that there are rumors that are going around 4 days before the lynching happened. And if somebody can read what's on WhatsApp, they can read billboards. They can, you know, all they had to do in Ahmedabad, in any urban place, there are billboards at every chauraha, every crossroads there's a billboard. All they could have done is put the screenshot of this video and a text of the blurb or whatever. You know, I'm not the best person at communication, but you know, they could have communicated to the people that, you know, this is what is being said and this is false. They had enough time even to do that, but they did not. The problem is that we are all, you know, only working in a reactive manner. So to answer your question, to reach that section of the population, it needs a much larger coalition. Alt News, Boom Live cannot reach that. It is unfair to expect us to even reach that section of the population. You know, we have tools like All India Radio, we have FM, we have multiple mass media tools which can be used to reach different section of the population if there is a will. But unfortunately, there is no will.
I had another question. You talked about in your previous answer how WhatsApp also factually views information.
Say that again?
How WhatsApp also has factually, or how WhatsApp factually views information being passed on that medium. So isn't this a clear breach of the privacy of two people's conversation also? So how do you draw a line between the two?
No, so WhatsApp doesn't look at your content. Did I say that?
You said that it has a factual viewer in the previous answer, so...
Yeah, so that is one of the challenges as far as law enforcement agencies are concerned. And if you look at the government spokesperson, when they come on TV shows, all they keep talking about is we want to monitor your data. We want to monitor your data. And of course, we know what Aadhaar has done and what sort of fiasco that has created. So obviously, the government wants your data. WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. So they have implemented a protocol called Whisper, which was originally from Signal. There's another messenger called Signal. I don't know how many of you use it, but they developed that protocol, and WhatsApp has implemented a variant of that. And so if I send you something, and if you send it to a friend, if it's the same information on the line, let's say if you're ISP, and if the police wants to tap into your data, and if they use a sniffer, so even if I send the information that I sent to you and you send to another, even if it's identical information, on the line it looks different. So there's no way to find out that this is the same information which is being passed from A to B, B to C, C to D.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I am Apur from second year. I also have two questions. First of all, how to combat fake news? If we talk about the fake news in fake propagated under targeted advertising. So apparently there's this new algorithm in Facebook in US and Germany where whenever they are about to share some content, this pops up where they ask that the fact checkers or analyzers have alleged this not to be accurate. Would you like to continue sharing it or cancel it? So do you think when we talk about people who already are biased, so would they actually think about not sharing this because it's not accurate, but they'll fix their biases and continue sharing it? So how does this algorithm to fix the algorithm actually useful? And secondly, when we talk about media houses, so right now we discussed how these media houses actually don't fact the real news and share fake. But in the past few days, we have been hearing about a Cobra posting operation, where all the major media houses actually agree to share fake news. Like they know that it's fake news, but they still.
They agreed to share a certain propaganda. They did not agree to share fake news. They agreed to do a certain propaganda. This is based on Cobra Post. Now, we don't have the access to original tapes, but what they agreed was that they would do sort of a soft Hindutva propaganda. That was the crux of the Cobra Post. So it's not really agreed to share fake news, but the fact that these media channels, according to Cobra Post, are for the sake of revenue, they can I mean, if you look at certain channels at this point in time, I don't want to name them, but you know that they are government mouthpieces. So I mean, what Cobra Post showed was not surprising. I mean, it was surprising that people at such high levels also involved in this kind of talk, but that is not really fake news. But that is an inherent problem with the media because it has become so corporatized now. Industry houses like Adani's, Ambani's, etc. They have such high stakes everywhere, from NDTV to India Today. Everywhere they have such high stakes. So, for example, CNN, IBN. Recently, what happened was that Ambani's son, he gave a speech on some platform, and it was not the finest of the speeches. And so multiple memes were created about it, and people then wrote articles about how these memes are being shared on social media, how it is viral. Ambani's made each one of them take down these articles. This was just as simple as, memes. That was all it was there. And they made, we wrote that article on Altnews. I think we counted about 12 websites took down those articles. And these are even small websites which have no readership. That is the amount of insecurity that there is. So that is a problem that, there's also a problem with the business model. For example, in case of Altnews, we are purely donation driven. User donations, no, and we are not for profit. So we are hoping to create a model where it is not possible for either a corporate entity or a political entity to exert pressure and tell us, take down the story. I mean, every month, one Amit Shah story is taken down, So that is the problem. The problem is with the model of business that the media has.
But the fact that most of the media houses, like almost 25 of them, agreed to do this positive propaganda. So how, again the question, what is the most effective way to combat this fake news?
The most effective way at this point, so initially when we started, I was of the belief that media would eventually step in, and which is why the idea was to make it Creative Commons, all the content Creative Commons, and hope that media organizations will pick it up and take it forward for a wider reach, but that hasn't happened. So I think the only next step is citizen journalism, according to me, and which is why we may not have time till 2019, but beyond 2019, we are going to seriously focus on creating resources so that people, individuals know how to fact check, individuals know how to find information and get, if there's something in your family WhatsApp group, you respond. So if if the media organizations don't do it, then it is up to the citizens to do it, and it is for the citizens to enable themselves, and this is not rocket science, you spend a couple of days on this, you learn how to do these things, you can take care of at least 60% of the rumor mongering that happens on social media. And of course, there are fact-checking websites for the more elaborate ones, where you have to contact the police station and then further do, where there's actual component of journalism. But for at least for fake videos, fake images, people can fact-check themselves, and I think that is the way forward, for people to fact-check themselves and sort of increase the capability. And we are a huge country, so we need that kind of individuals fact-checking data and everything before forwarding things.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Bhavisha from the second year. I wanted to ask if you could suggest some specific pointers on how the government could help in tackling fake news. Like, what should be the suggestions that what should be the government strategy to tackle fake news that's spreading?
So there are multiple discussions going on in this area. Unfortunately, most of the discussion is around policing. That is, create a law, create a new law, create this law. Now, when a video goes viral, it gets shared lakhs of times. How many people are you going to jail for sharing a fake video? How many people are you going to jail for sharing a fake video? It is at a point in time where it is an epidemic. And when you have an epidemic, you don't jail people, you teach people. You create multiple awareness programs where you teach people depending on their education level. If it is a section of population which does not have much education, you just tell them, don't believe in it. If it comes from the government, they'll believe the government. That don't believe in these rumors, these are false rumors. They are doing this now. Constables going into chota villages and telling, don't believe these rumors. But this should have been done at least 1 year ago, where you allay their fears. I mean, what amount of fear would it take for somebody to go and kill people? It does not happen in one day. There has to be a build-up process before somebody finally acts on it. And so if the intervention had been done during this build-up process, then we could have prevented this. As I said, in case of Ahmedabad, we had put a story 4 days before the lynching happened, and nothing was done about it.
So, an extension of the proposition about fake news legislation. So, there are two things that I would like to ask you. The first one being, as you said, the social media website models are driven by profit, and their entire idea is that they get the profit from the virality itself. So, isn't it necessary for the government to place some liability on these intermediary platforms, so that at least the websites could take some kind of action towards stopping fake news? That's the first question. And the second question, with respect to media houses, is it better for them to self-regulate in terms of creating a body for themselves where they penalize the media houses which perpetrate fake news, instead of the government intervening in the media houses, which will obviously have some free speech repercussions? So those are my two questions.
So as far as laws are concerned, right now there's a law in Germany, I think it's called NetDG or something like that, where the social media platforms have to pay a fine if once notified that this is misinformation / disinformation. Once notified, they are given a certain amount of time frame to take that down, or else, and there are two slabs, depending on the severity of the misinformation. You either take it down in so much time if it is this severe, and they have certain fines for that. Personally, I am not a fan of government regulating either of these, because in India we have seen that whenever government gets into regulation, unfortunately we saw that 66A was struck down, and unfortunately when government gets into regulation, they use it not for the purposes of benefiting the citizens, but they use it for purposes of political one-upmanship, So if, for example, if government gets into regulation of news, if you remember, Smriti Irani recently came up with that circular. Now, she wanted to talk about fake news, and nowhere in that circular did she talk about fake news on social media. That is the elephant in the room. Yes, we have issues with mainstream media, but Ramnath Kovind, how many followers Ramnath Kovind has, is not going to kill people. Yes, that is misinformation, but it is not serious misinformation, and I'm not talking about biased media. Biased media is a separate genre altogether. You know, that you cannot categorize as fake news. Biased media is biased media. It is for people to recognize what is biased, what is not. But at least as far as misinformation is concerned, it is not mainstream media that is a primary mover of misinformation. It is social media. And when government came out with the circular, they focused only on journalists, right? So why was that? Because elections are coming up, and they wanted to make sure that there is an element of fear in the media, which already is there, and they wanted to increase that. So, and this is not limited to any particular government. In the previous government, they went and banned Twitter accounts of multiple BJP supporters because BJP was the first mover on social media, and so people like Kanchan Gupta, etc., all of their right-wing journalists, their Twitter accounts were banned. So anytime you give government, at least in Indian scenario, if you give them powers which help them regulate, which let them regulate, they usually use it for a political purpose and not otherwise. So I am not a fan of regulation. I believe there should be self-regulation as far as media is concerned. And in terms of social media, again, we have to figure out a variety of mechanism. As I said, awareness. Facebook, for example, Facebook and Google are doing two things. In the US, they've already implemented this. One is, so for example, let's say Trump makes a claim, XXX, and New York Times fact checks it. So now Google has introduced something called a claim review mechanism. So you can embed a certain amount of code in your website where you say that this person is claiming this and this is the actual truth, or this is the actual fact. It could be true or false, and put it out. So then what Google will do in its ranking is that so for example, Trump's claim is on Washington Times, that will come, and the fact check will come right next to it. So what these platforms are saying that we don't want to edit content. So their strategy is to reprioritize content so that you get alternate views. Essentially what they're saying is that everybody is living in a bubble. Either they read postcard news or the other side reads National Herald, you know. So let's try and get people out of the bubble and give them alternative views. Facebook is also doing something similar. That is, if you are reading one particular article, they'll have, you know, you can also read this, where they'll algorithmically identify other articles on a certain issue so that people get a wider view of the issue.
Thank you for the talk, sir. I understand that you're not very regulation oriented, and I'm sorry for still having a very regulation specific question. But essentially, I was wondering that when we're talking about not responsibility but liability for, say, when we want to hold social media also responsible for the sort of fake news that is disseminated, you want to hold them responsible as disseminators, right? And in the same scenario, do you think that imposing liability on individual disseminators is also a good idea in order to enforce deterrence? Or given that, say we do introduce a fake news legislation, your stakeholders that you want to protect essentially are the people, right? And at the same time, the people who are disseminating this content on the largest part are also the people. So, is the approach supposed to be protect them regardless, but also hold them responsible as well as liable for the fact that they're also propagating the same thing?
So for the large part, there's a technological limitation. How do you differentiate disseminators and propagators? That is the main issue. In the WhatsApp world, how do you go and figure out who's the disseminator, who's the propagator? That is the main issue that law enforcement agencies are facing, and we want that kind of privacy. I make a lot of calls over WhatsApp, and there's only going to be technologically advancement. We are not going to go back in technology. So the society is supposed to keep up with technology. So at least in case of WhatsApp, it is extremely difficult to differentiate between who's the disseminator and who's the propagator. But let's say when it comes to websites, so for example, after we did a story on Postcard News, we were the first one to break that story, that they claimed that a Jain monk was attacked by Muslim population, somebody from the Muslim community, which was completely wrong. It was an accident. Some inebriated fellow went and, there was an accident, and it was claimed that somebody was from Muslim community. We put out that story. Then Karnataka police filed a case, and this guy was arrested. In case of, I showed that Boshir Hath thing. that Bhabosh Chatterjee, he was also arrested. So in some cases where you know who's the disseminator, I'm not opposed to a legal action in that case. But as I said, most of the rumors that are put out are not from websites. Most of it, these fake videos are on WhatsApp, and on WhatsApp and all these chat apps, it is almost impossible to figure out who's the propagator and who's the disseminator. So that is a problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the talk, Pratik. Here, this side.
Okay. Hi. I can't hear you.
It seems like there has been an increase in lynchings across the country since the last government has come into power, 2014 onwards. Now, there can be two aspects to this. One could be simply political propaganda, but that is difficult to establish. And because different people hold different kind of ideologies, we can't really test for that and even verify that. Another could be that there could have been an increase in media coverage of these kind of things. So has anyone, including you, have done an analysis pre-2014 and post-2014 as to whether these incidents have increased after the new government has come into power? And in context of that, there were some questions about government regulation. To what extent do you think there is conflict of interest there?
So as far as lynchings are concerned, so there are different kinds of lynching. So for example, the present kind, which is the child kidnapping rumors, lynchings which are because of purely social media rumors, they were not there previously, and this has nothing to do with the government and power. This has to do with the very fact that in 2014 there were only so many people on internet. In 2018 that probably has increased 15-fold or 20-fold. So many more people, many more first-time internet users are using social media, are using WhatsApp especially, and they are falling for these rumors. So that is one of the reasons which is not related. Any government, had it been any government, we would have seen that kind of advancement as far as the telecom thing is concerned. As far as the ones which are related to cow slaughter, that is clearly this government. And we saw what happened in case of Akhlaq, where the person, one of the accused died and he was draped in the Tiranga. So there is either direct or indirect support for that. Lynchings, we are obviously sort of going a little away from the talking, but lynching is not something which is new in India. People are lynched, caste-related lynchings are especially extremely common, upper caste killing, Dalits, etc. It's very common. So it is not something which is new. But these two specific kinds of lynching, ones which are related to cow slaughter-related rumors and the WhatsApp rumors, they are definitely in the last 4 years. One, not because of the government, because of the increase in internet usage, and second, according to me, because of the direct or indirect support by the government. You had a second question about regulation? I forgot what that question was. Yeah, there is a definite conflict. So which is why I'm against regulation. A government getting into regulation. I'm completely against that.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Samriddhi from the first year. Agreed that the government can be responsible for various factors like cow slaughter, but can we say that various platforms on social media and major media houses are responsible for spreading fake news and defaming the current government?
Well, we saw the part about spreading fake news. Fake news, as I said, also, what you think is fake news, what somebody else thinks is fake news, there's different views on it. But yes, mainstream media, as I said, has put out misinformation. It is not just, there's misinformation about the government as well. For example, there was a RTI request about, about Ahmedabad, Bombay circuit going empty, railway-wise. The trains which are going, they are empty, and which is why it doesn't make a case for bullet train. There are other arguments about bullet train, but there was an RTI which came out and it was published. And I, being from Ahmedabad, I know that it is impossible to get a train ticket from Ahmedabad to Bombay. And then when we went further, when that was looked into, so there was a problem with the RTI itself, the data it was collected, and the interpretation. So yes, there is that problem, but it is. I don't think there is a modus operandi which wants to defame the government. I don't think so. And government's responsibility, there's all kinds of, media houses we know have their bias. There are certain media houses which are continuously targeting the opposition. There are those as well. So it is not that, there's only one kind of media house. So as far as that is concerned, in this present case, your other question was social media. So social media is also responsible, but only to a certain extent. As I said, they could have created tools which would have helped people in finding out what is true, what is not. They could have done all of those things, but social media is the medium. They are not the ones creating content. When elections come, it is these very political parties which are creating a majority of the content and majority of the fake news. So you cannot take away their responsibility and put it on a social media platform. So, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I feel fake news is a part of knowledge domination and part of politics of knowledge creation. So there are powerful people creating a certain kind of knowledge and having dominance over the knowledge field. So until and unless there is a countervailing force which is equally powerful, it cannot beat the knowledge that is being created by the so-called or the allegedly false news creators. Creating awareness and asking everyone to do a certain kind of fact check requires, we are presuming their agency in a person. And you just mentioned that most of the people who are affected by fake news are in the rural part of India. And you cannot presume agency of them to check a particular fact in Google, do a certain kind of background checks. So this is at best a step towards an optimistic future where everyone can do a fact check and nothing else. So are there any immediate solutions to the problem? Is there a way out from this razzmatazz? Because the countervailing force, which should have been government and the powerful news agency themselves, seem to be an accomplice to the present problem. So is there any solution in this scenario?
So not everybody needs to fact check. And let's say there's a certain strata of population which obviously, if they are believing what's on WhatsApp and they have no access, there's probably a section of population who don't even know how to go to google.com and do Google search. So it is completely unfair to expect them to fact check information. But then there's a different messaging that has to target this section of the population. We don't expect them to fact check. We tell them that this is wrong. And we tell them repeatedly, just the way there's a repeated procedure in let's say when these child kidnapping rumors, if you keep getting that again and again, you develop a sense of fear. If you keep telling them again and again and again that what you saw on WhatsApp yesterday was false, what you saw. So essentially what we want to encourage is for them to develop some amount of criticality towards the information that they receive. At this point in time, that criticality is completely missing. So that that should be the messaging in case of that section of population. So we need different kinds of messaging targeting different section of population depending on their awareness levels and their capabilities. That, to me, I don't think, it is a long way, but I don't think there's any other way to approach the solution, this particular problem.
So you did mention that it is a fact that most media houses in the country have some sort of political affiliation, or their news is in a way identified as being ideologically driven towards a certain side, to a political party. And our country is such where people do label and classify people's thoughts and ideologies on the basis of the news that they give out, right? So a majority of what I saw here in your presentation was about fake news that would in a way seem to someone who was say pro-government or a pro-BJP supporter to be targeting their government. In that scenario, everybody, or say a large part of the people who are supporting that particular party, would immediately label alt news or classify alt news as being anti-BJP. And that, in a way, would, directly drive out a lot of people who would be accessing this sort of news. How do you counter that, or how do you address that problem? Because in that situation, there are a lot of people who would be requiring to go through such content, but then due to the mindset of having been classified into that particular slot, you're losing out on that targeted section of the population.
So, firstly, probably this presentation doesn't reflect that. For example, just the day before we fact check something that was being claimed about Sambit Patra, it was being claimed that he lost his medical license because of certain sexual molestation allegations against him. And we spoke to him and we put out a story saying that, these are false. We did a story on Subramaniam Swami where it was being claimed that his daughter and some other relative, he sent them to Hajj, and look what sort of a hypocrite he is. We fact checked that and we found that that was a story, just a picture at Bangalore airport, and had got nothing to do with that. So we are fact checking both sides, but there will be, at this point in time, for example, in Karnataka elections, I think the amount of misinformation ideologically, if you say BJP versus Congress, because they were the two main parties there, I would say that about 80% of the misinformation was the kind which would benefit BJP, and there was about 20% which would benefit Congress. Now, if that is the case, we have to put that out. Then if people interpret that we are anti-BJP, I may have my own ideology, but as far as fact checking is concerned, whatever is false is false. And so if Rahul Gandhi says Shikanji thing, we have fact checked that. If Narendra Modi claims that Nehru never met Bhagat Singh, we have fact checked that, right? So as far as the information on the website is concerned, covered all sides, but we can't just do 50-50% just to show that we are neutral if one side is putting out 80% of misinformation, another side is putting out 20% of the misinformation.
Sir, I have one last question to wrap this up. What is on the horizon for alt news?
So we are mainly planning three things. July end, we have alt news, boom live, etc. We are working with Google. We have created a curriculum to teach fact checking. So we are training about 8,000 journalists July end, first week of August and July end. Secondly, we are trying to create more and more curriculum so another thing that we could possibly work with Google or independently is that we want to create a website which is dedicated to teaching fact checking. So how can people fact check? Go there and learn. There are a variety of skills that are needed in fact checking, and we want people to understand. As I said, somebody asked a question, and as I said, since media is not doing it, it is for the citizens to do it. So that is what we want to enable, that citizens can learn how to fact check and start fact checking. That is one thing that we are doing. And another thing that we are planning is an app, which essentially what I was trying to say is that, there's not a single app on either the Apple store or the Google store where you can upload a image or a video and ask the question, what is the original context. So we cannot create something as elaborate as Google reverse image search, but what we are planning is that, let's say if we have already fact checked the story, and we have about now 500, 600 stories that we have fact checked, and if it includes a component of image, text or video, then if somebody uploads, let's say an image and asks, asks us what is the original context, then we will check it against our database and tell them this was the original context. So at this point of time, fact checking is purely manual, that, everything is a manual thing, but to increase the scope, the only way to do is involve technology where people can use an app, send us things, and a software program fact checks it against what we have already fact checked. If it is not fact checked, then they'll put it in the database, and we will find out what is being circulated where. And so one of the things we probably will include in this is geo coordinates. So we know from which section of the country is this particular rumor originating. This is especially important for this child kidnapping kind of rumors, where we can intimate the local police station and tell them, look, these are the kind of rumors that are going on in your area. So, using technology to figure out, how to make at least a part of this whole fact-checking process automated. And the last thing that we are planning is as I said, right now we don't really, there is this research out there which says that, false information travels much faster than true information, the fact-checked information rather. But so the Altnews science editor, she's a neuroscientist based in Sweden, Dr. Sumaya Sheikh. So she, and we, as I said, we have a captive audience. So we want to figure out via behavioral analysis as to, is there a more effective way to put out this information so that it is more effective messaging. How do we put out this information so that there's more believability in the information? What we already do, when we first came up, the first question that we asked ourselves, why should somebody believe us? So what we already do, if you look at our stories, is that we take the audience from the claim that is on social media through the entire process of how we fact check. So let's say if we do a Google reverse image search, we capture that in a video saying that, here, right click on this image, do a Google reverse image search, do this, and look, this is the origin of the image. So, and something which somebody can repeat, or at least they see a visual demonstration of the fact check. So we take them to the entire process and then finally conclude whether it is true or false. So we are already doing that, and we're just wondering, is there a more effective way of putting out things? Yeah.
Certainly, if there is interest or if there is maybe a subsequent sort of opportunity, we could even plan for a detailed workshop on, let's say, on how to compare images, how software can be used. So certainly we'll be in touch with Pratik if some such opportunity can come in the future. And those of you who are interested, maybe in contributing, can also get in touch, right? Because we have students, especially in their older years, who have a fair amount of time on their hands. Maybe not so much for the younger students. But certainly there is an interface between law and journalism where they can also cultivate an interest in this issue. In fact, there was a group which was trying to think about suggestions on how to regulate fake news. So some of you may want to pursue some independent research on this theme as well, right? So thank you again for making the time.
Thank you.
And do you mind if we